Today we are in the first state, heading to the rooftop of Delaware. Hello, I'm Skye Marthaler, and welcome to another episode of Rooftops of America. Today we are in Wilmington, Delaware, and just a few short miles from the highest point in the state. Located in the very north of Delaware, in Newcastle County, Ebright Azimuth lies just a few hundred meters from the Pennsylvania border, on the edge of the Appalachian Piedmont. While low in stature and difficulty, this high point more than makes up for it with a few mysteries and misconceptions. To start with, the name itself is a bit of a mystery. The first part's easy enough. The Ebrights were the owners of this property. It's the second part that's a little more confusing. This isn't a knoll or a hill or a mountain or anything with a name that would resemble a point of elevation. Instead, it's called an azimuth. An azimuth is the angle between the projected vector and a reference vector on the reference plane. Or in other words, you take your compass and find north, and you want to head due east. That angle between them is your azimuth. This may well be the oddest named high point in the country. So why would this be called an azimuth? When you go looking for answers, it's hard to find a definitive one. One can speculate that it had something to do with the original 1933 survey, when the benchmarks were actually monumented. But beyond that, it's just guesswork. There is also a misconception that Delaware is home to the lowest state high point in the country. That is false. Florida's Britton Hill firmly retains that title by being over 102 feet lower. Finally, there's the issue where the high point is actually located. Delaware's high point throne has challengers, some with rightful claims, others as false pretenders. More than a few Delawareans would claim the high point is in nearby Centerville, but that location is 2 feet shorter than the official site. Then we have the state-designated high point, but the truth of the matter is slightly more confusing. Our first clue that something is amiss is from the sign itself. Note the language, the vicinity of. So the question is where in the vicinity is the highest point? Fortunately for us, there are several clues that can point us in the right direction. If you look at the benchmark itself, there's an arrow on it that points you towards the triangulation disc. Fortunately, this happens to be a bit of a dead end, as that particular disc has been covered up by a house beyond the windbreak over there. But even that location is not the highest point. For a more definitive answer, it's time to consult a map. Looking at a quad map for this area reveals a contour line for an elevation of 450 feet located in this area. There are several pieces of evidence that validate this. The first is a letter by Mr. William Schenck from November 1990. He was the coordinator of the Cartographic Information Center for Delaware at the time, and a key member of the 1985 benchmark survey. In it, he stated,
"The true natural highest point in Delaware is about 300 yards west of Ebright Azimuth, in a mobile home park. The elevation in front of the first trailer in that park is 450.949 feet above mean sea level."
Finally, in 2007, the University of Delaware's Department of Geological Survey conducted a LiDAR survey, which reconfirmed the findings of the 1985 survey. And it stated that the highest point of Delaware is actually in this location behind me. But there may be one final wrinkle to all this. When this area was built up, was the elevation altered by the construction? Is this a natural high point, or is it man-made? So we're left with no easy answers when it comes to this high point. But one thing is for certain. The state of Delaware encourages folks to visit the designated location. So here we are, at the highest monumented point in the state of Delaware. coming in at 447.8 feet, makes this the 49th highest state high point in the U.S. I'm Skye Marthaler, and I want to say thanks for joining me on another episode of Rooftops of America. We'll see you soon.